Suburban tyranny does not wear a crown or carry a sword. It carries a clipboard, wears pastel polo shirts, and hides behind a homeowner association badge, while weaponizing measuring tapes. For 4 years, Arthur Sterling ruled the Whispering Oaks subdivision like a feudal warlord with unchecked authority, taking perverse pleasure in terrorizing every resident on our cul-de-sac with daily violation tickets over microscopic infractions. Arthur was a retired real estate developer whose entire self-esteem was built on subjugating his neighbors. If your Bermuda grass was half an inch over the 3-inch limit, Arthur would photograph it from your curb and slap a $50 citation on your mailbox. If you left your trash bins outside 20 minutes past 6 in the evening, Arthur would issue a formal warning letter, accompanied by threats of legal action for degrading neighborhood property values. When I purchased my mid-century stone colonial home at the end of the street, Arthur immediately targeted me as his primary adversary. I was an industrial surveyor and civil engineer, spending long weeks managing state infrastructure projects, which meant I did not attend Arthur Weekly neighborhood social mixers or praise his garden committee decrees. The hostility reached an unbearable level last spring when I parked my vintage truck on my own paved asphalt driveway for 3 consecutive nights. On Thursday morning, I walked outside to find 4 bright yellow envelopes taped directly across my driver's side window, demanding $400 in cumulative overnight parking penalties. I walked across the manicured lawn to Arthur's 2-story brick mansion to politely resolve the matter, hoping for a basic civil conversation. Arthur opened his massive mahogany front door, adjusted his thick gold-rimmed glasses, and smirked down at me from his elevated marble porch with dripping condescension. "Read the bylaws, young lady," Arthur sneered, crossing his arms over his protruding belly, while waving a laminated rulebook in my face. "This is an elite community, not a commercial parking lot. Pay the $400 by Friday noon, or I will place a statutory lien against your property deed and tow that metal eyesore onto the highway at your personal expense. Arthur, this truck is fully registered and parked entirely within the physical boundary of my private driveway," I explained calmly, keeping my temper strictly in check. "You cannot invent arbitrary municipal restrictions that contradict county land statutes." Arthur let out a loud, mocking bark of laughter that echoed down the quiet street, slapping the doorframe in pure amusement. "I am the president of this association, little girl. I do not follow the county. The county follows my standards. Pay the fine, or I will make every single day you live in Whispering Oaks an absolute living nightmare." Arthur slammed the heavy front door directly in my face, leaving me standing on his front steps in silence. A cold, clinical clarity washed over my mind, replacing any lingering frustration with absolute surgical focus. Arthur had lived on his double lot for 12 years, spending nearly $200,000 building an expansive Olympic-sized and ground swimming pool, a heated slate patio, a detached 3-car luxury garage, and an elaborate stone privacy wall that bordered the southern boundary of my property. Instead of paying the $400 parking extortion, I logged into the State Department of Transportation geodetic database and ordered the original 1947 county land plat records, along with the certified satellite boundary markers. What I discovered in those historical township deeds made me set my coffee cup down in sheer, breathtaking disbelief. In 1962, the county had redrawn the municipal parcel lines following the construction of the Western Bypass Highway, shifting the southern boundary markers 12 feet westward. When Arthur bought his parcel in 2012, he never commissioned a certified physical land survey, relying instead on an outdated subdivision sketch to pour his concrete foundation. Arthur's entire luxury detached 3-car garage, his heated stone patio, his ornamental privacy wall, and nearly 8 feet of his Olympic swimming pool had been constructed directly across my legal property line, sitting on 2,400 square feet of deeded land that belonged entirely to my parcel. I did not run over to his house screaming, nor did I send an angry text message to the neighborhood chat. I hired 2 independent state-certified forensic land surveyors and registered an emergency boundary verification with the county clerk office. 3 days later, while Arthur was hosting the annual Whispering Oaks Executive Board barbecue around his sparkling swimming pool, 2 county surveying trucks accompanied by a deputy sheriff cruiser pulled onto my gravel driveway. The lead surveyor and 3 licensed field technicians stepped onto the grass holding high-precision laser transit scopes, GPS telemetry tripods, and cans of bright neon orange surveying paint, walking directly toward the shared boundary line. Arthur saw the orange vests through his cedar hedges and came storming across the lawn holding a plastic plate of grilled ribs, his face flushed with immediate fury, as the board members followed behind him to witness the commotion. What is the meaning of this circus? Arthur bellowed, waving his barbecue tongs at the county surveyor, while stomping his deck shoes into the damp turf. Who authorized you to trespass on private association grounds? Pack up this equipment right now. Before I had the sheriff remove you from the development. Arthur, stand down, Deputy Miller said, stepping forward, tapping the gold county badge pinned to his chest. And unrolling an official court-sanctioned survey notice. These technicians are executing an emergency state boundary verification under County Warrant 72. Do not interfere with authorized municipal personnel. Shh. The technicians set up their laser markers, calibrating the satellite beacons to the original 1947 iron boundary pins buried deep beneath the topsoil, while the board members watched in tense, awkward silence. The lead technician pulled the neon paint trigger, spraying a thick, glaring orange line right across the manicured green lawn, continuing straight across Arthur, pristine white stone retaining wall, across the polished flagstone pool deck, and directly down the center tiles of his Olympic swimming pool. Before marking the front corner of his 3-car garage. Arthur stared at the neon line slicing through the heart of his luxury pool, his jaw dropping open as the paper plate slipped from his fingers, spilling ribs into the grass. What are you doing to my pool deck? Arthur shrieked, his voice cracking in absolute terror. You are defacing private property. Mr. Sterling, the lead surveyor, announced loudly so every board member and neighbor could hear clearly, this is not your property. The legal boundary of Parcel 4 extends 12 feet into your current landscaping. Your detached garage, your slate patio, your stone retaining barrier, and 40% of your swimming pool are encroaching illegally on your neighbor-deeded soil. The entire cul-de-sac fell into dead silence. Neighbors Arthur had tormented for years began whispering, exchanging shocked glances, and pulling out their smartphones to record the orange line splitting his pool in half. This is a mistake, Arthur stammered, clutching his chest with trembling hands, as beads of cold sweat rolled down his forehead. I have owned this house for 12 years. My title insurance company cleared this layout. This survey is fraudulent. I stepped forward from behind the deputy, holding a thick legal folder stamped by the county superior court, and looked directly into Arthur's panicked eyes. There is no mistake, Arthur, I said in a calm, icy voice that resonated across the lawn. You spent 4 years issuing hundreds of illegal fines over half-inch grass clippings, preaching about strict adherence to boundaries. Well, Arthur, here are your boundaries. I handed him the certified court injunction and unrolled the official engineering diagram for the entire board to see. Under State Property Law Section 12, I have filed a formal complaint for structural trespass and unlawful encroachment. You have 14 days to demolish your detached garage, tear up your slate patio, and remove your swimming pool from my deeded ground. At your sole personal expense. Demolish my pool? Arthur screamed, dropping to his knees on the marked flagstones, sobbing hysterically while clutching the orange-painted tiles. That pool cost me $80,000. Tearing down the garage will destroy my home foundation. Please, Clara, we are neighbors. We can work out an easement agreement. An easement agreement, Arthur? I asked softly, raising an eyebrow with cold amusement, as the deputy took notes. Just 3 days ago, you told me that Whispering Oaks was an elite development where rules must be enforced without mercy. I am simply enforcing the supreme law of the state. Arthur rushed to every high-powered real estate attorney in the county, spending $30,000 in legal consultations, only to be told the exact same devastating reality, by every judge. The 1962 municipal markers were unassailable. His construction was a blatant illegal encroachment, and his title insurance policy contained an explicit exclusion for unpermitted structural additions. Facing court-ordered contempt and daily statutory encroachment fines of $1,000, Arthur had no legal escape. 2 weeks later, massive commercial demolition excavators and jackhammers rolled onto our cul-de-sac, tearing into Arthur's pride and joy. The heavy hydraulic drill smashed his heated slate patio into gravel, cracked his 3-car garage into rubble, and jackhammered 8 feet of his swimming pool into a jagged crater, while all the neighbors sat on their front porches drinking lemonade and watching the spectacle. Arthur was forced to pay $45,000 in demolition fees and another $20,000 to construct a reinforced concrete retaining wall on his actual legal boundary line, leaving his remaining backyard as a tiny, mangled patch of dirt. The HOA executive board held an emergency session that weekend, voting unanimously to strip Arthur of his presidency, and revoking every single fine he had ever issued to the neighborhood over the past 4 years. Completely humiliated, financially drained, and ostracized by every resident on the street, Arthur put his damaged mansion on the market at a massive loss, and moved into a remote condominium complex 2 hours away. On the newly reclaimed land, I poured a spacious extended driveway, planted a row of flowering cherry trees, and parked my vintage truck right along the border, enjoying the evening breeze from my front porch. Petty tyrants always believe that a clipboard and a title give them the divine right to dictate how others live, never realizing that their own glass castles are built on borrowed dirt. And when you spend your life weaponizing boundaries against your neighbors, you should never be surprised when the earth shifts beneath your feet and swallows your empire whole.